What's up, everybody? This is Woody here. Just wanted to follow up with a few extra comments. First, I want to talk to you about Barry's mom's death. And I think there's some confusion surrounding that, so I wanted to kind of clear that up. In the original series of events with Barry's mom's death, it was supposed to be that Reverse Flash from the future is battling with Flash from the future, and eventually that battle works out to Eobard's favor, and then he kills Barry's mom, and that sort of starts the whole series of events in which Barry would then later go on to become the Flash. That was changed by an attempt at meddling by Flash at some other point in time. I forget if it was in season 1 or season 2. And then another version of the Flash comes and stops that. But most recently, at the end of season 2, Flash went ahead and tried it again. And then that created Flashpoint, because once the season 2 Flash came in and stopped Reverse Flash, then his mother no longer died. He no longer would become the Flash, and then Flashpoint was created. But then that turns out to be a whole bag of horrors that Barry is begging to undo at the end of season 3, episode 1. And so he then begs the imprisoned Eobard Thawne to go ahead and kill his mother again. So they go back to that moment in time. And so I'll refer to them collectively as season 3 Barry and season 3 Eobard. Right? So now when season 3 Barry and season 3 Eobard show up, they time displace the existing versions of Barry and Eobard at the scene. In other words, you'll notice that the Eobard that was depicted at the end of season 2 is laying on the floor knocked out. He disappears. He vanishes. And season 3 Eobard shows up and says to the mom, "You're not safe." Barry's assuring her that she's safe. He's saying, "No, you're not." And then he disappears, right? And then season 3 Eobard, proceeds to kill the mom. And then season 2 Barry disappears, the one who created Flashpoint. He looks confused, and then he vanishes. Because why? Because season 3 Barry is there, even although he's off screen. And he's then time displaced. So he's gone. He's out of the picture. So that's it. That scene is done. There's no need for anyone in the future to go back to that moment in time and do anything or change anything, because that altered the future. And that's what started the series of events that now have become the pain in the side of season 3. Because now we're going down the path of creating Savatar. So my point in the last video about talking about the Denzel Washington movie was that I wanted to express that now Barry's caught in what I would call a tragic time loop. Right? In the movie that Denzel Washington started was called Deja Vu. Right? I wrongfully called it Out of Time, but it's Deja Vu. And he keeps reliving a series of events whereby he goes back in time and is trying to save himself and a bunch of people and someone named Claire Kuchever. And as he goes through these steps of trying to save everyone, he leaves little clues in different places. Maybe bloody bandages or some letters written on a refrigerator, things like that. And so it's in this version of the time loop, this latest iteration, which is basically the point of our movie, right? Because the movie would be boring if all we kept seeing was him failing over and over again. In this iteration, this particular version of Denzel's character actually picks up on some things and realizes he has to change what happened before. That he failed before, and that this time he's not going to fail. He has to change the events so that he can break the time loop, save Claire, save the people, and avoid a certain disaster. And so that's what I think this season is about, is that Barry is doomed to keep reliving this series of events where Savatar kills Iris over and over again, unless he can find a way to break the cycle and save Iris, which he's going to probably do because this is a show for the good guys. This is not a show about the bad guys winning, right? Um, Also, an important thing I think was season 3, episode 2, when Jay Garrick, who is the doppelganger of Henry Allen, meets with Barry in a diner, and he had stopped him from trying to change the timeline again. And he explains to him you have to be careful with the space-time continuum, and that we're not gods. I think that conversation had a lasting effect on Barry, for better or for worse. I think for better in that it teaches Barry that messing with time is a bad thing. But I think for Savatar, it's the opposite. Because to me, Savatar is Barry gone mad. Savatar is Barry trapped in the Speed Force and who's devastated by the loss of Iris, and that he loses his mind in such a way that he then becomes his own worst nightmare, his own worst enemy. Maybe he feels that this is what Barry deserves, right? Because Barry put him in this prison. And so he wants him to experience pain. He wants him to experience suffering. Almost kind of like a Zoom like quality, right? You know how Zoom made sure that Barry saw him kill his father in front of him, Henry Allen. Well, kind of something like that, right? Professor Stein and Mr. Jackson, aka Firestorm, they play a message for Barry in season 3, episode 8. It was a message that was meant for Captain Hunter, and Barry explains that when you come back to this new timeline that I've created, don't trust anything or anyone, not even me. And so I think that that's a critical clue to why the Future Flash is Savatar, because he's letting him know. Because at first I was thinking, what's going on here? Invasion of the Body Snatchers? Are people being taken over and maybe doppelgangers being put in their place? Like, what is that? That's kind of creepy. Then I realized as this season has played out, that no, he's referring to the fact that he's going to learn that Savatar is in fact future Barry Allen. And being that time travelers have abilities to go back and forth in time, you don't know where Savatar might show up. Savatar might become a recurring villain. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to end with his death or his being sealed away forever, never to be seen again. He could pop up at any time. And so I believe future Barry from 2054 is warning Rip Hunter that, as you go through time, you may run into a version of me that looks like me, but is totally evil and is not to be trusted. Okay? Season 3, episode 9, Barry meets with Jay Garrick again. He helps him defeat the villain played by Mark Hamill, right? And Jay Garrick explains to Barry that Savatar was the first man ever granted speed. In a way, the way that this whole series is developed and the Arrowverse, you almost get the sense that Barry is the central character in terms of getting speed and using speed. And if this goes anything like the comics, you learn eventually in the comics that Barry Allen is not only the fastest man alive, but he is the one who generates the Speed Force. Every motion, every step he takes, every move he makes, every heart he breaks, just a joke there, that he is in fact generating the Speed Force. And so as a result, you could say in a way that he is the most powerful of them all. Who better to grant someone like Wally West his speed than Barry Allen himself, who is this sort of generator, as you will, this sort of this source of power for the Speed Force itself. In fact, something I read in the comics indicated that at the point Barry Allen dies in the comics, that the Speed Force is no longer growing because the Speed Force needs him to continue growing. And so that's how important he is to the Speed Force. And so I would imagine that over the course of time, Barry, once he realizes his true potential and what he's capable of and that he's at the center of everything, he could truly become like a god. And so Jay is explaining to Barry that over time he became the god of motion, the fastest of us all. He's coming for you, you're threatening his power. I think Jay's mistaking Savatar's motives, right? That he thinks that maybe it's an issue of power and that he's coming for him. Obviously, knowing now that it's going to be younger Barry who's going to imprison older Barry in the Speed Force, this is purely more of a survival and revenge kind of thing. So, but nonetheless, still, at the core of it all, Barry has the capability to become the most powerful speedster. He generates the Speed Force. And so who better to become this imposing enemy that just seems like he's incredibly on another level, right? And then further in Season 3, Episode 9, we actually have the dialogue between Barry and Savatar, which I'm sure many of you have seen written or talked about in other videos, but I'm going to go ahead and just repeat it again because I think it bears repeating. Hello, Barry. It's been a while. And then at some point he talks about you have to make people believe you're a god. So going back to that conversation with Jay Garrick in the diner, we're not gods. It's like, okay, he recognizes he's not a god. But you can still make people believe you're a god, right? The god of motion, the Savatar, right? Barry asks, who are you? And, the answer comes along the lines of something of, you did this to me. You trapped me in eternity, your future self. So I interpret that to mean not that his future self trapped Savatar in eternity, because that's the way I've seen everybody on the internet interpreting it. They keep saying his future self trapped Savatar. His future self trapped Savatar. No, his future self didn't trap Savatar. His younger self, inadvertently, albeit maybe even accidentally, however it goes down, he trapped Savatar. And when he's saying, you trapped me in eternity, your future self, he's saying, you trapped your future self in eternity. You see how the words can be played with there? You see how it just leads itself to the grand irony? And so that's why I think that if these events don't play out in the next episode, which is the Once and Future Flash, right, which refers to the Once Flash being our current Barry and the Future Flash being the April 25th, 2024 Barry, that it definitely will play out in at least an episode or two of that in fact the younger Flash is going to end up trapping the future Flash in the Speed Force, and it's going to drive him insane, and he's going to become the villain. So that was just these extra points I wanted to make. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I will hope to try to keep them coming as more things come to me over time. And once again, time will tell. Take care. Bye-bye.